MVU congregation. I am Leatha Comstock. I am member of the board. Hang out with them. I'm calming myself a second. I am happy to be here. I am happy to see all of you. For announcements today, first of all, read the back of your order of service. It has what's going on. I just want to remind you that after service, plan to stay for the budget and finances update and then for the town hall meeting. Also, next Sunday will be the thinning of the veil, kind of like Day of the Dead. Bring your pictures, your mementos of your beloved lost to put on the altar. There'll be an ancestor altar at the front. And now, Mark.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we're not doing any real big skit right now, so don't worry. We're not going to drag out.
Oh, you're dressed for it.
Saturday, our next fundraiser, everybody. Next Saturday, here at the congregation, starts at 3 o'clock. It's we're calling it the Fall Holiday Fest fundraiser. We have auction items. We've got baked goods. We have items that people donated that are crafts, knitted items, masks. You can see, start purchasing those. $20 entry fee gets you food, gets you a bid number and 5 raffle tickets. And if you see Murray, wherever Murray is, if you haven't signed up, please let him know if you can make this from 3 o'clock to about 5, 6 o'clock. Our biggest prize we're giving away is a 5-night, 5-star hotel anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. So that's going to be our big prize. We have a lot of other prizes here on the back, pickleball events. We've got a lot of raffle prizes. So please come out Saturday, November 1st, 3 o'clock, and wear a costume too, if you like. We'd love to see you, or wear one of these masks. Wear a mask or a mask. Okay? Thank you.
Our welcoming song this morning is Come Sing a Song With Me, and it's on the video where it will be up, and I hope you enjoy it because Laura and I really did. Be a video with that was puppets, and it was really cute. As we begin the ringing of our bells to open our service this morning, we pause and to acknowledge and honor the Tongva, the Serrano, and other native peoples on whose ancestral homelands we gather today. We call to the ancestors of this faith and of this congregation and of each of our hearts. On this day, we extend a safe, warm welcome to those gathered here in person, online, and via the recording. And for tomorrow, and to those who will come, we prepare a place for you here, and we invite you to join us.
Good morning. As a symbol of our faith, we light a chalice at each of our gatherings that represents the spirit, the values, and the rich history of Unitarian Universalism. What Leatha didn't tell you is, in addition to everything else she does, she's visiting from Utah along with Alan, and I've invited them to come light the chalice. As I share with you the words of the Reverend Michelle Collins, titled The Wisdom to Know. We light this chalice as we learn to hold both tenderness and strength. May this flame illuminate the wisdom to know when compassion calls us to offer comfort and when it demands courageous action.
We are going to sing our invocation and recite a pledge of compassion. As an introduction, during the pandemic lockdown, many Unitarian Universalist congregations recorded videos to share with their congregants and other congregations as we worship together from home. This morning, we will sing along with the All Souls Unitarian of Washington, D.C.'s virtual choir as we sing Spirit of Life, first in Spanish, then in English. It's number 123. Change of plans. Thank you, Jaryus. We're just going to be singing hymn 123. Please stand as you're willing and able. You may be seated. This morning, in recognition of our theme, Choosing Compassion, I invite you all to join in the reciting of the Pledge of Compassion from the group Children in the Crossfire, a nonprofit founded by a man in Northern Ireland who was blinded as a boy by a British soldier's bullet. Pledge of Compassion. Compassion pled from Children in Crossfire. I pledge to be courageous, kind, and to open my heart and open my mind. I pledge to reflect on the stuff I own and consider the journey to get to my home. I pledge to ask questions about poverty, wealth, and explore how injustice is linked to myself. I pledge to ask why I know the stories I know, and pledge to take action for peace and justice to grow. I pledge to keep going, not to give up when it's tough, to stay resilient, creative, and know I'm enough. I pledge to be grateful for the birds and plants and trees, to walk gently on earth, to protect her seas. I pledge to celebrate the diverse land on land. When someone is struggling, I'll offer a hand. I pledge to act with compassionate mind, but most of all, I'll be courageous and kind. And now we'll have a wisdom tale given by Robert Tidwell, our Director of Life, Religious Education, whatever.
Very, very close. You just left off the whatever. You would. Good morning, everybody. Okay. Did you take my story by accident? I had it up here.
Took it by accident.
Yeah. a couple pages.
Sorry about that.
You are okay. So today's story comes from our, we have a subscription service that we get some of our materials from, Soul Matters, and this was one that I found in there. I was looking through there on the theme of compassion, and I saw this one, and it's a Halloween story, so I said, ooh, perfect. If you weren't here for our Halloween party last night, you missed out, but I am all about Halloween, so I hope you enjoy it. Some of you may recognize that it's a retelling of a different folktale. So, once upon a time, on the edge of a small village, a tired traveler wandered into town. She wore a tattered cloak, carried a crooked walking stick, and had a warm but weary smile. It was the day before Halloween, and the villagers were all busy getting ready for the celebration. But this year, things had been hard. The harvest was small, and everyone was worried there wouldn't be enough food to share or enough joy to go around. People kept to themselves. Decorations were simple, and the doors stayed closed. The traveler knocked on a few doors asking, "Is there room for one more at your Halloween gathering?" But each person said the same thing. "Sorry, I don't have much to offer this year. There's not enough for everyone. It's just going to be a small celebration for us alone. Maybe next time." So the traveler went to the center of the village square, sat down a big black pot, and began to build a small fire. Curious children peeked from behind fences. A few grown-ups wandered over. "What are you doing?" one asked. "I'm making magic cauldron soup," said the traveler with a grin. "It's a special soup just for Halloween, made with the most surprising ingredients. I just need a little bit of water and a magic stone." From her pocket, she pulled out a smooth, shiny stone and dropped it into the bubbling pot. Everyone leaned in. "But that won't make soup," someone whispered. "Ah," said the traveler, "but it could, with just a little bit of magic. Like maybe a scoop of spirit. Does anyone have some?" A child raised her hand. "I can add spirit. I brought up my carved pumpkin and my spooky dance." "Perfect," said the traveler. The child placed her pumpkin beside the pot and danced all around, arms flapping like a ghost. Next, the traveler said, "It needs a dash of kindness." A baker stepped forward. "I was going to keep these cookies to myself, but I'll share." He placed a small plate beside the pot. "What about bravery?" A boy in a monster costume raised his hand. "I'll walk into the dark woods alone." "Well, maybe just the edge." Everyone laughed and cheered. One by one, the villagers stepped forward. Someone added laughter, someone added songs, someone added a warm scarf to share. They added silly stories, warm cider, painted rocks, and paper bats. And as each gift was placed, the pot of soup bubbled higher and brighter, not with food, but with feeling. The air around it shimmered with light and laughter, and people began to smile. Doors opened, tables were carried into the square, candles were lit. By nightfall, the village had the best Halloween celebration it had seen in years, full of sharing, costumes, courage, and care. And as for the traveler, she simply smiled and said, "When everyone brings what they can, even just a little bit, it's enough. Magic cauldron soup is never made alone." And with a wink, she disappeared into the mist. And now, as you sing us to our classroom, we can disappear into our mist. It's kind of foggy this morning. If the kids want to come up and get the chalice.
Thank you all for your many kind and generous gifts to our community. Every one of the gifts we each bring is essential to our strength, our growth, and our sustainability. As a justice-seeking congregation, we have voted and agreed to donate 50% of the donation plate offerings that are not earmarked as pledges to nonprofit organization that aligns with our values. For the months of September and October, we share our plate with Inland Abundant Housing. Inland Abundant Housing, also known as Housing Claremont, is a chapter of Abundant Housing LA. This year, fellow congregant Ann Taves and I replaced Reverend Maggie as members of its board. We are a volunteer nonprofit organization that serves our city and region by advocating for solutions to our need for more housing, homeless services, and tenant protection. We collaborate with other groups to support high-quality, well-planned housing development and redevelopment for all income levels, prioritizing the critical needs of low and very low-income individuals. It is with all of our combined expressions of love that our financial gifts to the congregation and any non-perishable donations for the Foothill Family Shelter will now be brought forward and gratefully received as we listened to Prelude, composed and played on recording by Lily Popova.
Each Sunday, we set aside a few minutes to recognize the joys and sorrows of this congregation in our lives. Folks share by writing on the paper available in the back by the name tag board and putting them in a bowl. Folks join us by Zoom can write into the chat and Jaryus will bring them to me. Today I got one paper. If anyone has anything, let me know. And then I have been told a couple things. This is from Debbie Skirto. She's grateful that her daughter, Arian, returned safely from visiting her client in Salt Lake City this past week. Her flights were mostly on time. And we also want to remember Jill and Bruce as they continue to recover. I've heard they're doing well, but it takes time. And they're, remember them in your thoughts and prayers. And I don't have anything else. Now, prayer and meditation. Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning. Ours is a caring community where our joys are amplified, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and our sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of community. May we remember those who have spoken and those who we hold silent in our hearts. A gentle song will accompany it for a time of meditation. It's a recording of Lily Papa and our congregation. And the song's called May I Be Filled with Kindness.
Our message today, The Call to Compassion, was written by the Reverend Dr. Sandra Fees, and Leatha and I will read her message to you. Reverend Dr. Fees has generously shared her sermon with us and other UU congregations through the Soul Matters subscription service that Robert mentioned earlier. We'll be using their themes and resources from Soul Matters as we plan and present our worship services. This message was written before our denomination revised the way we describe ourselves, moving from affirmations of principles to statements of values and a commitment to live those values. So those values, if you don't know them, are shown in the back of your order of service. In her sermon, Reverend Dr. Fees refers to our first Unitarian Universalist principle, which affirms the worth and dignity of every person. As a denomination, we now speak of our shared value of equity, and we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Reverend Dr. Fees also refers to our seventh principle, which is now known as our shared value of interdependence. Our former principles and our current values call on us to choose compassion. Now, a call to compassion.
I think we can all agree we want to be compassionate. Compassion is one of the cornerstones of our religion and a goal for any caring individual. Compassion, love, and justice inform our Unitarian Universalist principles and our communal practices. It's built into our religious tradition just as it is a part of every faith tradition.
The Universalist side of our heritage embodies the concept well, steeped as it is in a history and knowledge of compassion and love. Love is Universalism's motto, if you will. In Universalism, historically speaking, God is conceived of as the source of love. Humans, by extension, are called upon to love our neighbor, to love each other, and to practice agape love. This kind of love invites us to extend ourselves beyond care for our personal circle of kinship, to encompass the whole of creation, to include those beyond the walls of our homes, sanctuaries, or our national borders. It calls on us to practice mutual respect of difference and an inclusive spirituality, as well as to practice radical hospitality and openness as guiding principles of faith and holy living.
Compassion demands a lot of us. It means doing unto others as I would have done to me. As much as we aspire to be compassionate, it's often hard to do. Despite an agreement that's important, things seem to get in the way. So what is it that gets in the way? What prevents us from acting compassionately?
For one thing, our egos. This is the part of us that needs to be right, to defend our own ideas and territories, to protect ourselves so we'll feel better, and to blame others. This is the part of us that has an inflated sense of our own self-worth. Egotism places us at the center of existence and makes other people's needs and interests peripheral. It separates us from other people and places a distance between us.
All too often, we hold a bit too tightly to having our own way. We get caught up in who's right, who's wrong. That happens in personal relationships with spouse and partners. It's pretty evident in politics, and also among religions that argue that their own way of believing. Then we start playing the blame game. There's an awful lot of finger pointing going on in our world. It's our egos that push us into placing blame. Blaming others shuts down conversations and prevents intimacy and relationship. You can see this very clearly in personal relationships with a child or a partner. Just think about those times when one of you says, "It's your fault, we're late. You never do anything I say to you," and so on. These kinds of statements tend to start or exacerbate an argument.
In the public square, the battle over who's right and who's wrong can become callous, inhumane, even violent, as we know too well. I remember years ago reading a blog by an individual with socially liberal views who celebrated the death of Andrew Breitbart, the 43-year-old conservative author and activist. That really stuck with me. Her hatred was so pointed that her response to Breitbart's death was jubilation. It was a sobering example of what happens when we allow ourselves to care more about winning and being right and our own position than we do about being human, than about a person's life. We can have a difference of opinion without attaching a person's basic humanity to it.
Another way we exert our own egos is by looking for scapegoats to place the blame for problems we see in our lives and social ills. There are numerous examples of blaming the victim. Placing blame on a person who is homeless or mentally ill or suffering from an addiction isolates us from the need to feel compassion for them, to look to other structural failures. I'm not suggesting that individuals shouldn't be held accountable or responsible for getting the help they may need or for the ways they contribute to their own difficulties. But we can take this so far that we lose our humanity in the process. Sometimes we may need to admit we feel helpless or angry or afraid in these situations, and that we simply don't know what to do.
Tibetan teacher Pema Chodron describes a conversation she had with an old man who was living on the streets for over 4 years. No one looks at him or talks to him. Sometimes someone gives him a little money, but no one really looks at him. No one asks how he is. It's very lonely for him. People respond from discomfort, fear, anger, or judgment. According to Chodron, only in an open space when we're not all caught up in our own version of reality can we see and hear and feel others, who others really are, which allows us to be with them and communicate with them properly. This openness is sometimes called emptiness in Buddhism. It means not shutting down or holding on too tightly.
Our tendency in this country is to have things on our own terms. You may remember the slogan, "Have it your way." Today, not only is it pretty much everything able to be customized to our own particular set of specs, but we expect to have it our way. Relationships don't work that way. Human interaction doesn't work that way. We can't always have it our own way. We can't customize other people's to meet our specifications. The only way to be in a relationship is to make space for others. This means making room in our hearts and our minds for the possibility of someone else's reality. There is the Charter for Compassion that expresses this concept well.
This document says, compassion calls us out of our narrow self-centered selves, saves us from wasteful self-involvement, and opens us to the well-being offered to those who share themselves, their resources, and their love with all humanity. The Charter for Compassion was an outgrowth of the vision of scholar Karen Armstrong. It was launched at the United Nations in November 2009 to advance key principles of compassion and actions globally.
Compassion is the stuff of spiritual path. It's the path that leads us to be able to see God in another person, to recognize in each a spark of divinity. This is what we mean when we talk about our first Unitarian Universalist principle, which affirms the worth and dignity of every person. It also makes us able to be a part of the web of life. We affirm our network of mutuality, to use Martin Luther King Jr.'s term, in our seventh Unitarian Universalist principle, which affirms respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. These two principles aren't just abstract ideas. They capture an essential part of walking the spiritual path. Just recall for a moment when you felt you were a part of something larger than yourself. You might have been playing with a child. You might have been praying or meditating or singing. You might have been out in nature on a beautiful day.
Can you remember how it felt to be one with the world? Do you remember what it felt like to have the walls of separation between you and creation, between you and everything else, between you and everyone else, dissolve, even for a moment or two? Many of us describe this experience as a sense of mystical oneness with all life and all that is. Many also describe this as experiencing a compassionate presence. At that moment, there's no longer an insistence on me and mine. We may have only fleeting experiences of that oneness, but it's enough to help us realize the potential we have for walking in someone else's shoes. It's enough for us to experience the regenerative, peaceful power of compassion. In those experiences, we can each see that capacity in ourselves. We experience what it meant to let go of our own egos, even if only for a few moments.
We can each help each other, we can help each other to make a better, more caring, and more just world if we learn to live out of the experience. Okay, what does that mean on a practical level? First, I encourage you to begin by going online and learning more about the Charter for Compassion at charterforcompassion.org. Consider signing the charter. You don't need to pledge to be compassionate 24/7, which is impossible, but you can identify one commitment you can make.
One possible commitment would be to teach your children and or grandchildren or students about compassion. Parents can make this a particular emphasis within their own families. They can teach children about compassion and also engage in acts of compassion as a family.
Another action would be to use compassionate language. Giving greater intention to language we use and the words we repeat can foster greater respect. Learning about and practicing nonviolent communication is a way to avoid perpetuating harm and further kindness. It's an effective way to process and to rethink the kinds of messages we are sharing with friends, family, coworkers, and others.
Yet another commitment might be to learn more about how compassion can be practiced in Unitarian Universalism. Most congregations offer multiple volunteer opportunities, such as serving on a pastoral care team, at a food pantry, or on a social justice committee. There are also denominational groups and campaigns that offer opportunities for involvement.
Another commitment you might choose is to make a simple, compassionate action every day. This means reaching out to someone who is having a hard time or finding ways to be supportive of a coworker or a neighbor. It could mean taking a meal to someone who is recently hospitalized or ill, or helping them with chores.
The Charter for Compassion is a helpful tool for shaping our understanding of compassion and guiding our actions. It is a call to restore compassion to the core of religion and the world. It's a call for us to make compassion central to our personal lives and our public lives. It's a reminder for us to be intentional in our treatment of one another and all of creation, moving us to look beyond our own ego-driven interests and instead to give our attention to alleviating suffering and healing the world.
The Charter concludes with this vision for interconnectedness. Born of our deep independence, compassion is essential to human relationships and to fulfill humanity. It is the path to enlightenment and the indispositional to the creation of a just economy and a peaceful global community.
Compassion invites us back to ourselves, back to relationship, back to community. We are called back to the divine, whose name, among others, is compassion. May we heed the call. Amen, and blessed be. Remain seated, please, as we sing our sending song, Comfort Me. And that was Jason Shelton, who has composed many of the hymns we sing. At this time, I'd like to invite Leatha. Alan, you don't have to unless you want to. Leatha, to extinguish our chalice as I share with you the words of the Reverend Scott Taylor, the tenderness that makes us fierce. May compassion lead us closer to the broken and brokenhearted. May that proximity prove once again that we all suffer as equals. And may those shared struggles to give us the courage to act, not just feel, to confront the cruelty, not be numbed by it, to protest, not just offer prayers. May the tenderness of our hearts, friends, make us fierce about fixing the world. Thank you all. Now let's please enjoy a short time of fellowship and snacks, and then reconvene in about 15 minutes for our presentation from the board and our town hall. Thank you.